Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. It's time to talk about the best monitors you can get on the market right now. Normally we do these sorts of updates every 6 months or so. Turns out I missed the mark by a couple of months, so I'm a little late with this update, but it's probably best that I've waited until now to get some more monitor testing under my belt before the next wave kicks off later this year. The focus of this video is on gaming monitors. If you're after a professional monitor for work, the requirements are a bit different, so we're just sticking to gaming for now, and as always, we're continuing to look for the best value picks in each category. Sometimes I'll also provide an outright best option, which might blow out the budget a bit more, but as always, the focus is bang for buck value products. But before we get into the picks, this video is brought to you by Vikings War of Clans, a pretty addictive game that you can play on your PC right now. You know us, we love PC gaming here at Hardware Unboxed, which is why we've partnered with Vikings War of Clans for this video. And to be honest, it's an impressive game for something that's so easy to launch. All it takes is a web browser, no download necessary, plus registration is fast and easy, so you'll be playing in no time. And just quietly, I'm a big fan of these types of strategy games. They're a lot of fun, especially when you start to link up with other players online. Join Vikings for free using my link in the description box today and get a cool bonus of 200 gold coins for a kickstart. Trust me, it's really worth your time. Now let's get back to the video. Last time I updated my monitor recommendations, the Viotech GN24C was my pick in the best 1080p category. Fast forward more than half a year and this excellent value option is still the best choice for gamers on a budget. In fact, it's even come down in price, dropping from $200 at the end of last year to just $180 these days, making it even more of a steal than usual. The Viotech GN24C is a 24-inch 1080p 144Hz display that uses a curved VA panel, similar to many other monitors out there. There are a lot of reasons why this is a great choice for gamers. Firstly, the high maximum refresh rate delivers smoother gameplay than slower 75 or 60Hz options. Given you're only saving $50 at best to drop down to 75Hz, it's well worth spending the extra money on 144Hz. Not only will this monitor's better specs last you longer, but many GPUs these days are highly capable of 1080p high refresh gaming even in the mid-range class, so making the most out of these specs isn't as outlandish as it once was. The GN24C also comes with FreeSync and it supports low frame rate compensation, which effectively allows adaptive sync to work from 144Hz all the way down to 1Hz. This is a key requirement for gaming monitors and something you won't get with cheaper 75Hz monitors. Plus, the GN24C works perfectly with either AMD or Nvidia graphics cards. I also really like the size for 1080p. 27 inches is a bit too large for modern 1080p displays, and you start to feel the effects of a low pixel density at that size. But 24 inches just feels right, and the VA technology helps to deliver a decent contrast ratio of over 3000 to 1 in my testing. Response times are also excellent for a VA with a 5.2 millisecond gray to gray average. The only major downside to the GN24C is its availability. You can only get this monitor in the United States. But don't worry, because basically the same panel is available in other territories in the MSI MAG241C. It's a little more expensive than the GN24C in the US, but it's still around the $200 mark, which makes it a decent alternative. Don't confuse it with the older MSI G24C though, try and get the MAG variant instead, it's a little bit better. Understandably, not everyone wants a curved VA panel. Some buyers might want a flat monitor instead or something with better response times. In that case, I'll point you towards either the Acer XFA240 or the AOC G2560FX, both are 24-inch 144Hz 1080p TN monitors at around $200. The picture quality isn't as good as the GN24C, but both are good budget options if you're after something a little different. 1440p monitors remain the best option for gamers. With excellent high refresh models sitting between $300 and $400 US, it's no longer an outrageous proposition to have a monitor that combines a decent resolution with excellent performance. If you have a mid-range to high-end GPU, a 1440p 144Hz display will give you a great experience today and still have plenty of life left for the next few GPU generations. My pick of the bunch right now is the LG 32GK650F. At $350, it's not the outright cheapest model with a 1440p 144Hz display. You can get 27-inch curved VA models for around $300 to $310 without much issue, but the 32GK650F has a number of additional features that are worth spending cash on over the more budget offerings. To start with, it's a 32-inch flat VA panel. I prefer flat panels over curved panels, especially at this size and aspect ratio, and it seems many of you guys do as well. Given that 27-inch curved variants sit around $300 and 32-inch variants at $330 at their cheapest, I think it's well worth spending an extra $30 to go up in size from 27 to 32 inches, and then an extra $20 on top of that to make it flat. But that isn't the only reason why the 32GK650F gets my vote. It has class-leading performance for a 144Hz VA panel of these specifications, especially when it comes to response times, which allow the panel to deliver a true 144Hz experience. Many of the curved options sit in the 8 to 9 millisecond grey to grey range, which is too slow for true 144Hz, while the 32GK650F clocks in at 6.5 milliseconds. That's important for delivering less ghosting and motion blur. It also lacks wide gamut functionality, which might be a negative to some, but it actually makes the monitor more accurate and easier to work with given most content you'll view is mastered for sRGB. It doesn't support HDR, unlike some which claim to offer HDR but just end up giving you a fake experience, and perhaps most importantly, it comes with a very adjustable stand featuring height, tilt, swivel, and pivot functionality, features that are usually cut with lower-end products. If you don't have $350 to spend, my other recommendation is the Pixio PX275H at just $260 US. It's a 27-inch 1440p 95Hz monitor with a flat IPS panel and 95% DCI-P3 coverage. It too has decent response times around the 6.5 millisecond mark and all the advantages of an IPS display, including excellent viewing angles and color performance. For $90 less, the only real downside here is the refresh rate, which is cut down to 95Hz. It still has FreeSync, and it's still a great option for gamers who want a decently high refresh 1440p monitor on a budget. And finally, I'd also like to point out the Viotech GFT27DB, which is the best 1440p TN monitor you can get. It costs $300, and like the 32GK650F, offers 1440p at 144Hz, but in a flat 27-inch size. The reason you'd get this over the LG model is if you were really concerned about response times. The GFT27DB is about twice as fast and has great color performance for a TN, but still features the usual TN issues like relatively poor viewing angles and contrast ratios. For ultra-wide monitors, there are two recommended directions you can go. Either you can save a bit of cash and opt for a 3440 by 1440 display at 100Hz, or you can go all out on the best 144Hz models on the market. Considering the price difference, my current recommendation is for the cheaper 100Hz models, but I'll present both for you here. So when looking at 3440 by 1440 ultra-wide displays at 100Hz, all you'll have to spend these days is around $450, which is crazy considering just a few years ago, these panels were a premium $1,000 option. Most of the budget class models use the same Samsung VA panel, offering contrast around 3000 to 1 and response times in the 5 to 7 millisecond range. It's a high quality panel that's well suited to gaming and something I have no trouble recommending. My pick of the bunch right now goes to the MSI MAG341CQ, which is on sale for just $390, but often sits at $450 or so. It's widely available, delivers decent performance, and is going to impress those who haven't dabbled in ultrawides before. If the MAG341CQ isn't a great price for you, those in the US should look at the Viotech GN34C, which is very similar at around $450, while Aussies should check out Kogan's essentially identical 34-inch ultrawide monitor with a crazy product name. If you have more money to spend and are interested in getting the best available monitor without getting ripped off entirely, I'd go with the LG 34GK950F. It's one of the few monitors offering 3440 by 1440 at 144Hz right now, and does so with a curved IPS panel that's excellent quality out of the box and offers over 95% DCI-P3 coverage for wide gamut work. The HDR experience isn't isn't great, but response times near 6 milliseconds and adaptive sync that works with AMD and Nvidia GPUs headlines a feature set that's outstanding for ultra-wide gamers. You'd have to really want the additional refresh rate though, because while this monitor is the best available for gaming right now, it does cost an eye-watering $1,000, which does drop occasionally to $800 on sale. Even that sale price though is significantly higher than the 100Hz models that I typically recommend. The best 4K monitor category is going to be the shortest because there aren't many displays in contention right now. For most people, especially those on a tighter budget, getting a 1440p 144Hz monitor will be a better option than a 4K 60Hz display for gaming. Both cost roughly the same these days, but the 1440p models I've just been talking about will have better performance, better adaptive sync experiences, higher refresh rates, and often better panel quality. The step up from 1440p to 4K isn't nearly as large as the step from, say, 1080p to 1440p in terms of visual quality, so to me it's simply not worth trading off all those extras, especially the higher refresh rate, for just a small bump in resolution. However, there are a couple of monitors that offer the best of both worlds, a high-resolution 4K experience with a high refresh rate, and the best on the market right now is the Acer Nitro XV273K. It'll set you back around $800, at least twice the price of a basic 60Hz model, but it delivers a 27-inch IPS display at 3840 by 2160 with a maximum refresh rate of 120Hz. And I say 120Hz here because despite being advertised as 144Hz, the maximum refresh rate you can use in a practical setting is 120Hz. Not that that's a bad thing, it's still a high refresh rate and something you'll struggle to max out even with an Nvidia GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. In my testing, performance was solid and it offers a wide color gamut if required. I'd ignore the HDR capabilities though, they're mediocre at best. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of improvements made in the HDR monitor ecosystem since the last time I was recommending monitors. There are still lots of monitors that claim to be HDR compatible, but don't deliver a great HDR experience. Common issues include not supporting a high peak brightness, not including a full array local dimming backlight for increased contrast, and occasionally not even supporting wide color gamut. Pretty much every monitor that passes Display HDR 400 certification doesn't actually deliver a meaningfully improved HDR experience, and therefore it isn't worth buying as an HDR display. And it's not much better at Display HDR 600, while only a small selection of Display HDR 1000 monitors pass all the required terms in the checklist. Looking at these validation badges unfortunately isn't good enough to determine whether an HDR monitor is actually going to deliver a good experience. My advice for most people interested in HDR monitors is the same as last year, and that's not to bother. The risk of fake HDR is too high, it's still too early to jump into the HDR ecosystem, and I'd hate for anyone to buy an expensive HDR monitor only to discover later that they got something with fake HDR. If a monitor says it supports HDR, make sure it's a good SDR monitor at a good price first, and then treat any HDR support as a free bonus. And don't pay extra for HDR either. I've seen plenty of monitors where they offer HDR at an added price, but the HDR mode isn't actually any better than SDR. With that said, if you have money to burn and are after a real HDR monitor for gaming, my recommendation goes to the Acer Predator X27, which is one of the only gaming grade monitors I'd be happy recommending for HDR. It's still expensive at over $1,600 US, but it is a wide gamut display with 384 zone FALD backlighting and 1000 nits of peak brightness. It looks phenomenal while gaming. It's worth keeping in mind that several other high-quality HDR monitors are coming soon. The new ultra-wide models with 512 zone FALD backlights and 200Hz refresh rates are almost here, which could interest some buyers with deep pockets. Asus also has a new mini LED model coming later this year, which is set to be similar to the Predator X27, but with a decent increase to the backlight zones. It could be worth waiting for those displays if you're planning to put down over $1,500 for an HDR monitor. So that sums up my current monitor recommendations. Since last time I updated this list, the 1440p and ultra-wide options have come down in price significantly and form some of the best buys on the market today, which is great to see. You can find links to current prices for the monitors we've recommended in the description below. Consider subscribing for more monitor content. There's always a new monitor in my office for testing at any one time. Also consider supporting us on Patreon to get access to our monthly live streams and exclusive Discord chat, among a number of other perks. And I'll catch you in the next one.